Malaysia working on enabling balanced regional development. Over R500 million lost due to financial mismanagement. Hello and good evening. You're watching News at 10 with me, Muhammad Amin Carlos. And first, as usual, the local stories. Now, the Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East ASEAN Growth Area, aka BIMPIAGA member countries should look for every opportunity to restore cross-border value chains, many of which have fragmented since the closure of international borders following the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said Malaysia has been doing its part to make this happen, as it values BIMPIAGA as an important platform to enable a more balanced and inclusive regional development. Well, the Prime Minister stressed that participating countries must put in place fresh and bold strategies through a whole-of-nation approach in their respective countries while maintaining regional cooperation. In citing tourism as an example, he said in reviving the struggling industry, member countries should explore the possibility of having a standardized approach which permits vaccinated individuals to travel freely and safely across borders with minimal quarantine or complicated approval processes. The Prime Minister said the cooperation under BIMPIAGA will focus on increasing cross-border economic activities and strengthening the value chains. The measures will continue to be undertaken to improve infrastructure accessibility and connectivity by accelerating the implementation of priority infrastructure projects in BIMPIAGA. Well, a total of 78 private sector projects involving 17,605 housing units with near 12,000 buyers involved has been classified as abandoned in Peninsular Malaysia. Now, 7 abandoned housing projects are targeted to be restored by Housing and Local Government Ministry this year through an intervention of negotiations, facilitation and enforcement. So far, 4 projects have been successfully restored and 3 more projects are expected to be completed by end of this year.
7982 tu, sekitar 32 projek berada di negeri Selangor yang melibatkan unit sebanyak 10,855 unit. Dan daripada 32 di Selangor tu, 7 projek berada di dalam kawasan Selayang yang membabitkan 3,002 unit. Maka sebab itulah saya memikirkan bahawa dalam nak menyelesaikan masalah-masalah penyediaan perumahan pada rakyat yang terkesan akibat masalah projek terbengkalai ini, maka perlu ada pendekatan yang lebih bersifat wholesome approach. Sama ada intra ataupun inter-ministerial ataupun agensi punya collaboration.
Dato' Sri Rizal added that the ministry has established a war room for government intervention to see a concerted effort to rehabilitate abandoned projects so that they can be inhabited in line with the goals of a livable Malaysia. The minister was met after a walkabout at an abandoned housing project in Taman Selayang Mutiara, Selayang. Preliminary assessment of the new proposed site for the construction of a permanent disposal facility, also known as PDF, of the rare earth processing plant, Lynas Malaysia Sendirian Berhad in the Gebeng Industrial Area, Pahang, found it classified as low-risk flood area. Well, Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Dato' Sri Dr. Atim Baba said the Radiological Impact Assessment, or RIA, report was received last September, and it was carried out due to concerns over the risk of floods in the area.
Kemudahan pelupusan kekal atau permanent disposal facility ini telah dikenal pasti di kawasan perindustrian Gebeng dan kini sedang dalam proses penilaian sebelum diberikan kelulusan pembinaannya. Berikuran kebimbangan yang wujud berkenaan dengan risiko banjir di kawasan sekitar kawasan perindustrian Gabeng, pelbagai penilaian awal di atas laporan RIA telah diterima pada bulan September 2021 dan telah dilakukan.
Dr. Sri Dr. Atom said at present the government is of the view that the transfer of accumulated radioactive waste can be done soon on the condition that construction of the PDF is expedited. However, he said before approval can be given for the construction of the PDF, two requirements set by the Atomic Energy Licensing Board or AELB have to be met, namely the RIA and Environmental Impact Assessment EIA. Well, since last year, applications by non-Bumiputra companies to obtain the halal certificate was higher compared to Bumiputra-owned companies, with 9,650 and 3,832 applications respectively. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Deputy Minister Dato' Rosul Wahid said this trend showed that more non-Bumiputra companies are aware of the importance in producing halal products.
Pihak JAKIM dengan kerjasama kementerian-kementerian dan juga badan-badan berkanun serta badan kerajaan sentiasa mengadakan kempen berkaitan dengan logo halal, kesedaran halal, kerana logo halal yang dikeluarkan oleh JAKIM oleh negara itu adalah logo halal yang diiktiraf oleh dunia. Artinya kalau logo tersebut tertera pada barang atau produk sesuatu yang dijual di dalam negara atau negara, memang dia terbukti halal, terbukti terbaik. Sebab itu dia diminta ataupun dimohon oleh kebanyakan peniaga-peniaga.
Well, the monsoon season, which is expected to start in mid-November in several states, will not affect the ongoing COVID-19 booster shot exercise for the frontliners and those who are eligible. And Deputy Health Minister Dato' Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said this was because the administering of the booster dose was carried out in private health facilities, adding that the Health Ministry had been informed that the number of private general practitioners or GPs keen on joining the immunization program was increasing.
Pada ketika ni kita dos menggalak ni, saya kata kita dah bermula dengan GP. Kita ada lebih kurang 8,000 GP yang ada klinik, dan di seluruh Malaysia ni GP-GP yang telah mendaftar, saya dipahamkan dalam 2,000 orang, 2,000 lebih sikit yang sudah daftar, yang dah bersedia. Maknanya seseorang akan diberikan appointment MySejahtera ikut klinik mana yang dekat dengan rumah dia.
Well, only fully vaccinated individuals are allowed to go to temples and participate in religious activities in non-Muslim places of worship in conjunction with the Deepavali celebration on 4th November. Now, the National Unity Ministry said the standard operating procedure or SOP varies depending on the phase of the National Recovery Plan or PPN. Now, for the states in phase 3 and 4, religious activities and prayers at the houses of worship are allowed for fully vaccinated individuals with attendance capacity based on the size of the premises, taking into account physical distancing of not less than 1 meter. Now, such activity p.m. and 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. with only packed food allowed to be temples. The ministry also said that religious processions or Deepavali bazaars are permitted by local authorities. With this, SOPs such as practicing good hygiene and observing physical distancing to curb the spread of the COVID. Vaccinated lanes for Singapore, Malaysia. Auditor General Dato' Nik Azman Nik Abdul Majid said the government is dependent on new loans to repay mature loans and the use of development fund money for the repayment of private financing initiative liabilities and guarantee commitments. Well, he said the federal government's debt in 2020 amounted to 879.56 billion ringgit, or 62.1% of the gross domestic product. That's the GDP.
Hutang tu dibayar melalui
hasil ataupun hasil atau lebihan hasil yang ada, tapi namun keadaan kita fahamlah keadaan sekarang atau keadaan tahun 2020 adalah negara menghadapi COVID-19 dan paksa kerajaan memperkenalkan langkah-langkah perbelanjaan untuk terkesan daripada COVID-19 dan juga langkah-langkah untuk
federal government had a deficit of 87.645 billion ringgit with a deficit to GDP ratio of 3.4%. Earnings showed a true and fair view of the government's financial position for the year ended 31st December 2020 and its accounting records orderly and up to date. Government plans to set up special vaccinated travel lanes for those travel between the two countries. Dato' Sri Nancy Shukri said discussions on the matter involving special vaccinated travel lanes would be announced by Prime Minister.
Travel lane itu, jadi ini akan kita teruskan perbincangan insya-Allah pada esok hari dan mungkin kita akan umumkan, bukan saya umum, itu terpaksa kita bawakan kepada mesyuarat National Security Council akan semuanya berjalan dengan baik lancar ya.
Singapore has opened up quarantine-free to tourists from several countries. In Sarawak have been identified and picked as part of the government nations. While she said apart from being rich in flora and fauna, these destinations are all time would boost the state's
9 kluster ekopelancongan yang berpotensi untuk dibangunkan, iaitu pertama Lundu, Sematan, Teluk Melano, Tanjung Datu, kedua Bako, Santubong, Kubah, Semenggok, Bau, Padawan, ketiga Baleh, Pelagus, kelima Mukah, Daro, Pulau Berit, Tanjung Manis, keenam Bintulu, Bakun, Berit, Murum, ketujuh Miri, Sebuti, Niah, Logan Bunut, dan ke-8 Limbang, Mulu, Gunung Buda, dan ke-9 Lawas, Bario, Baklalan, Baram.
Has launched the Yan and Bali centers known as ICONs, which is a new holistic development project to drive potential in the two districts. Well, the project, which was NCIA, was aimed between urban and rural areas. Well, Kedai Menteri Besar Muhammad Sanus Small and Medium Enterprises, or MSMEs, the state. Infrastructure construction work for the two ICON sites will begin in the second quarter of next year, and they are expected to be open for. Well, the launching ceremony of both icons was held online today, witnessed by Muhammad Sanusi and Isaac John. Well, the company manufacturing the changing the name and image on the label of their product. Now, according to Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Dato' Sri Alexander Nantalingi, this was the outcome achieved in a meeting between the government and the company representatives yesterday. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs Idris Ahmad, and National Unity Minister Dato' Halimah Muhammad Sadiqi also joined Dato' Sri Nanta in asked for 1 week to discuss with its stakeholders and Board of Directors image on the product. While the hybrid meeting was conducted within a harmonious environment within the concept of Keluarga Malaysia to reach a consensus for the good. Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC personnel will be on field duty to monitor the Malacca State. MACC Director Muhammad Syahril Cik Saad said a team has.
Dan sebenarnya akan letakkan di pejabat kita lah. Itu kita macam saya cakap tadi, kita berkolaboratif dengan pihak enforcement lain, termasuk PDRM. Jika maklumat itu sahih, dia akan maklumat dan aduan.
The Election Commission has set 20th November as polling day for the Malacca polls, with nomination day on 16th November. Next in sports, Nur Azfar hails teammates' spirited display in win over Mongolia. Stay with us. Well, the national under-23 squad had to work hard before recording a 1-0 victory over hosts Mongolia in their second match in Group J of the 2022 under-23 AFC Asian Cup qualifiers in Ulaanbaatar early today. Muhammad Nur Azfar Fikri Azhar once again emerged the hero, scoring a late goal in the first half to help Malaysia collect 3 valuable points in the tense match at the Mongolian Football Federation, or MFF, Stadium. Well, the country's young squad started the match rather slowly, apart from being surprised with a yellow card and as early as the 3rd minute to striker Lukman Hakim Samsudin. But Malaysia managed to control things despite facing aggressive and fast play from the opponents. Attack after attack that were neutralized forced the national players to shift their focus to set pieces, and it proved worthwhile when Muhammad Nur Azfar headed into the net in the 40th minute after receiving a pass from a teammate from a corner kick. Malaysia's chase for a second goal did not materialize, but came close when a solo run by team captain Muhammad Mukhairi Ajmal Mahadi, which ended with a right foot shot from outside the penalty box, only shook the crossbar in the 75th minute. In after 2 wins, Malaysia remained at the top of Group J with 6 points, while Thailand and Mongolia, who have each collected 1 point, are in 2nd and 3rd place. Malaysia will close the group stage against Thailand at the same venue this Sunday. Meanwhile, head coach Brad Maloney expresses his excitement with the 6 points gathered from 2 matches, including the win against Mongolia in Ulaanbaatar. Now, he said the national squad already expected to receive strong physical assaults from the Mongolians, who managed to secure a draw against Thailand on Monday.
Yeah, tough game as we expected, but you know, we stuck to our game plan, and you know, not everything went our way, but we managed to get the result. Hard to say. We'll just worry about things we can control, and we'll move on with that. A bit early to tell yet, but seemingly most okay. Hopefully everybody will be available for the next match.
And as for the match hero, Muhammad Nur Azfar Fikri Azhar, his goal was a reflection of the teamwork by the whole squad, who gave their best while being on the field.
We work so hard, we fight every ball, then we get the result. So, terima kasih kerana sentiasa beri kata-kata semangat di sosial media semua, saya baca semua. Alhamdulillah, kita dapat capaikan kemenangan pada hari ini. Kemudian kita harap next game kita akan dapat buat yang lebih baik lah untuk lagi senang kita layak ke Piala Asia untuk capai target kita senang.
Well, that concludes this evening's news at 10. And making the headlines today, Malaysia working on enabling balanced regional development. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. But before we leave you, our English News Desk is currently on the lookout for English news editors. And if you didn't know, applicants are required to have a minimum bachelor's degree and below the age of 40. Interested applicants can send their resume to the email shown on your screen. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.